So another thing you might want to do is, let's say that in this particular slide that there was a typo that instead of the Congo or Zaire, we want to say another country. If you look down here on the bottom of this timeline, you'll see that it's just one continuous video. We can't actually edit any of the text back there. That's just a screen recording of us giving the PowerPoint on the tablet. And so that makes it kind of difficult to fix any of the typos back there. But there's kind of a cheat that we can do to fix one of those typos. So what I'm going to do is pull up the PowerPoint. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint that we used for this lecture. And it happens to be right back here. Now I'm going to find the slide that I want to edit. There it is. And I'm no expert on foreign policy when it comes to Africa, but let's say we said the wrong example. I'll just type in Egypt. That's what I really meant. So I edited that slide, but then how do we get this into that Screenflow project? Well, what you can do is, instead of going through the process of re-recording the whole lecture or even re-recording that brief section of just this slide, what we can do is export this slide as a single image. So I'm going to go to File, Save as Pictures, and this will bring us to this little window here, and I can hit Options, and I want to say Save Current Slide Only. I want to make sure that it's set to 1280 by 720, and that all looks good. So I'm just going to save this as a JPEG, this one slide, and I'm going to save it to my desktop since that's the easiest to find. And I'm going to say it's I'm just going to call it the slide correction. So I'll hit save. I'll minimize PowerPoint, minimize my Finder window, for Screenflow, I'm going to make the window smaller, and over here we can see there's that slide that we just exported. So now I want to add this image into Screenflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my media bin and just drag the slide right into it. And there it is. So now how do I incorporate this slide into the actual video? Well, I'm going to find, where do I want to put this slide? Where does this slide first come up? So it looks like it's right around here. I really want to get specific, so I'm going to narrow it down to the very exact second. So it's right around here where it changes. And so I'm going to make sure that neither layer is selected. And I'm going to split the clips by hitting the letter T. And so we didn't even need to actually split. And so now I'm going to drag in the slide and put it right where I want to show up. And so it's not going to display right now because we have the other PowerPoint overlaying on top of it. So with that, the PowerPoint, that long continuous video file selected, I'm going to split the clip right there and select this part that I'm going to end up replacing. This is where that slide is. So I'm going to find, where does this slide transition? Where does it move on? So it looks like it's right around here. That's where it goes. And so at this point, I could split the clip again, isolate it and delete it, or instead I could, with this scrubber where I want it to end, I can select the timeline, and I could simply just And notice I'm not dragging this, but rather when I get to the very edge here, you'll see that this icon, the mouse changes to a bar with 2 arrows on either side. That means I can move it, and I'm actually just cutting those seconds off. I'm not physically moving the entire video. It's still staying in sync with the Logitech video. I'm just removing those individual elements. And now I've got this empty space up here. I can click and drag this slide, and remember, this is an image, this is not a video, and I can extend the duration of this slide for as long as I want to fill in this gap. And so now that I've added in that slide, it looks none the wiser that this slide was not part of the original PowerPoint. And we can see that I've changed the country back here. And so now we've incorporated an image. In this case, since the slides in the original PowerPoint fade into one another, I can even simulate that here, where I go on either side of this slide, and I'm just going to drag it out about half a second. So there is half a second, and by default it overlaps with the video that was there, and it creates this transition for the cross dissolve. And so if I watch it play back, I can see it fade into the image as replacing the video. And I can do the same thing on this side, where I select this and I drag. Notice I have that bar with the arrows again. I can extend it by just about a half second, and that will give me a nice fade into the next slide, so that if somebody were watching at home, they wouldn't notice a difference with the PowerPoint. So everything looks fine.